She showed up every morning before dawn, quiet, invisible, forgotten. For 15 years, she scrubbed floors that others walked over without a glance. But behind those tired eyes was a secret no one saw coming. One that would turn the company and its CEO upside down. Before we dive into this unbelievable true story, make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories that reveal the truth behind everyday injustice. Because what happened next isn't
For
just...
most people in the building, she was just the janitor, the woman who quietly moved from floor to floor before sunrise, pushing her cart while others hurried past with their coffee and titles. Her name was Marilyn Carter, and for 15 years, she never missed a single shift. Every corner of that office carried her touch. The polished floors, the spotless glass, the silent pride she took in her work. No one ever asked where she came from, what she dreamed of, or what she endured. To them, she was invisible. But behind those calm eyes and worn hands was a woman with a story no resume could ever tell. A story of patience, injustice, and a secret powerful enough to shake the company's foundation. Before we uncover what really happened inside those walls, make sure to subscribe because every week we share real stories that expose the truth behind quiet strength and unseen struggle. Marilyn thought her loyalty meant something. She thought hard work would protect her. But she was about to learn that in a world where race and power collide, even 15 years of service can vanish with a single cruel decision.
It started with whispers, small, cutting ones that floated through the office halls like smoke. She's been here forever, must be desperate, probably doesn't know anything else. Marilyn heard them, every word. Though she never reacted, she just smiled, kept cleaning, and held her silence like armor. But silence only protected her for so long. One morning, a new CEO arrived, Daniel Reeves, young, ambitious, and dangerously entitled. From the moment he walked in, the air changed. He looked at her the way some people look at a stain, something to be erased. At first, it was small things. His meetings accidentally running late so she'd have to clean around him. His staff forgetting to thank her. Then came the humiliation. One afternoon, he spilled his coffee on purpose, eyes locked on hers. "Clean that up," he said, voice sharp. "That's what you're paid for." Marilyn bent down, her hands trembling, not from fear, but from the familiar sting of being reminded where she belonged. And yet, every night, after the building emptied, she didn't just clean. She watched, she listened, she learned. Every misplaced document, every whispered deal, every lie. What no one knew was that Marilyn wasn't just the janitor. She was the quiet owner, the one who had saved the company years ago under another name. Before we dive into the moment that changed everything, make sure to subscribe, because these aren't just stories. They're real reminders of how easily power can blind and how truth always finds its way to the surface. Weeks passed. Daniel began making changes, layoffs, cuts, restructuring. He never looked her in the eye. But one night, Marilyn overheard a meeting she was never supposed to hear. Plans to sell off part of the company, to erase the department she once built, to erase her. That's when something inside her shifted. The patience she'd carried for 15 years hardened into quiet resolve. She began gathering evidence, emails, records, signatures, every detail that proved who really held the power in that building. Still, no one suspected a thing. She was invisible after all, and invisibility, when used right, can be the sharpest weapon. By the time Daniel walked into his office that Friday morning, everything was already in motion. The board had the files, the truth was out, and the man who thought he owned everything was about to learn that power, once abused, never lasts forever.
The conference room was packed. Executives, board members, and the ever-confident Daniel Reeves at the head of the table. He stood there, voice smooth, rehearsed, ready to announce the new direction of the company. Marilyn was in the back, quietly setting down a tray of water, ignored as always. Until she spoke. "Mr. Reeves," she said softly, "before you continue, there's something you might want to see." The room stilled. Daniel frowned, annoyed. "This isn't the time." But Marilyn didn't move. She slid a folder across the table, her eyes never leaving his. Inside, proof of his corruption, the illegal deals, the forged signatures, every secret he thought was buried. The board members leaned in, their expression shifting from curiosity to shock to betrayal. Daniel's voice cracked. "Where did you get this?" Marilyn straightened. For the first time in 15 years, her voice didn't shake. "From my office." A murmur spread across the room, confused glances, then realization. Her office. One of the senior board members cleared his throat. "Mr. Reeves, did you not know? Ms. Carter owns the majority shares of this company." Daniel's face drained of color. His confidence shattered in real time. The same woman he disrespected, ignored, and humiliated was the one who could end his career with a single signature. For a moment, no one breathed. Years of silence and endurance condensed into that single heartbeat. And then Marilyn spoke again, calm, deliberate, unshakable. "Daniel Reeves, you're fired." The words hit the air like a verdict. As security entered the room and Daniel's protests echoed down the hallway, Marilyn stood by the window, looking out over the city she once cleaned from the ground up. Her reflection stared back, not as a janitor, but as a survivor, a leader, a woman who turned pain into power. But as she walked out of that room, one thought lingered, a question she couldn't escape. How many more like her were still unseen, still silenced, still waiting for their turn to be heard?
When the doors closed behind Daniel Reeves, silence filled the room. A different kind of silence. Not the silence of being ignored, but of being seen for the first time. Marilyn didn't celebrate. She simply exhaled, as if releasing 15 years of swallowed pride, of every moment she'd been talked over, looked down on, or treated as less than. In the weeks that followed, the company changed. Policies were rewritten. Faces softened when they spoke to the cleaning staff. People suddenly remembered her name. But Marilyn knew this wasn't just about one company or one act of justice. It was about something much bigger. Because for every Marilyn, there are countless others still unseen, working twice as hard for half the recognition, fighting battles no one else notices. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers in promotions denied, in respect withheld, in eyes that look past you as if you don't exist. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe, not just for stories like this, but to help these voices be heard, because silence protects no one. Marilyn never asked for revenge. What she wanted was dignity. And that day, she finally reclaimed it. Not through anger, but through truth. As she stood in the same hallway where she'd once mopped floors, she smiled. Not out of triumph, but out of freedom. The kind that comes when the world finally sees who you really are. But the question remains. How many more stories like hers are still hidden behind locked office doors, behind uniforms, behind silence? Maybe it's time we stop looking past them and start listening.